good lunch?
Yes.
I had a good lunch too, but I think I need to eat more, man. Session 2 is about blockchain architecture and platforms. This can be quite boring, but please bear with me. So you look at the blockchain architecture, it refers to the structure and the design of the network and how the different components interact with each other. Well, there are many different kinds of blockchain platform and the way they implement. The architecture of the blockchain is built on several very fundamental components: integrity, security, and the functionality of the system. This is an overview of how a typical blockchain architecture will look like. So there's a user layer, there's a storage layer, and there's also a sensing layer. So these are some of the things that most of the time, I don't think this is like rocket science to many people. But if you are from a technical background, this is something that is very logical. If you are actually in the fintech space or in the tech space, this is also something that is also very straightforward. So, throughout the session for the next 4-5 days, Dr. Ram, myself, we'll be talking about, different terms that we use, right? So there are things like nodes, for example. In our context, this is a individual computer or devices that participate in this whole blockchain network. This is used to maintain a copy of the whole entire blockchain and participate in the consensus process to validate and verify the transactions. And then whenever we talk about a blockchain protocol, for example, you look at it as a set of rules and protocol and procedures that define how the blockchain network operates. It includes the consensus mechanism, the rules for block creation, and the whole validation process. Ooh. Okay, some blockchain network. This is not me. Yeah, but okay, it's the end. No, it's just joking. This is fast forward. I'm not sure what happened, but don't worry. So okay, don't worry. There's always a video for you to watch later on. There is some reference point for you to use, for your case study, for your country presentation as well. You can use the Canva link if you, yeah. Okay, so it's a consensus mechanism, it's a whole process that allows the nodes to agree on the state of the blockchain and validate the transaction. So we use different terms like proof of work, proof of stake, dedicated proof of stake, etc., etc. So we talk about blocks as well. So it's a container that contains the list of transactions. They are linked together using cryptographic hashes, forming a chain of blocks. You can look at it typically from the header, the transaction, and also from the Baker roots. And then transaction is the basic units of the blockchain, represent the transfer of asset or the data between the participant, and each transaction contains details like the sender, the receiver, the amount, and also the time stamp. Transactions are broadcast to a network and must be verified by the nodes before adding to the block. Okay, next, algorithms that transform input data into a fixed size string of characters. Hash functions are used to secure and link the blocks, creating a unique identifier for each and every block, ensuring data integrity. Smart contracts, a lot of people talk about different smart contracts, and we talk about Ethereum, these are self-executing contracts with programmable code that automatically enforce predefined rules, So anything that is within your predefined variables, they will function and they will work very well. Smart contracts automate processes and agreements on the blockchain. In the very early days, we tried using these smart contracts on contracts, actual lawyer contracts and so forth. It's an interesting process, it's a lot more efficient, since we're talking about productivity. So it's a lot more efficient, and there's no need to really just trust, what he says, she says, but all these things are all put onto a smart contract and executed when the predefined rules are being met. Consensus algorithm, so it's like a mechanism to achieve agreement on the state of the blockchain. It determines how nodes reach consensus and agree on which block to add to the next blockchain. And we talk about wallets, so everybody, I think, if you're in the crypto space, you have the wallet. So these are digital tools that allow users to manage their cryptocurrency holding, store their private keys to enable users to sign transactions and interact with the blockchain. Of course, there are many different kinds of wallet. Some are self-custody. If you are going to an exchange, the exchange will, be the custodian. Of course, exchanges right now has evolved into a more Web3 model, where maybe they use an NPCC model, where half of your keys are with you, the other half is with the exchange. So there are a lot of different ways. These are just to build the context. So the network is a collection of nodes, mentioned before. They broadcast the different transactions and synchronize with the blockchain to keep a certain level of consistency. And tokenization is another term that we often hear. Nowadays, I want to tokenize real estate, for example. I want to tokenize NFT, for example, right? So these represent real asset or the ownership as digital token. Tokenization facilitates the transfer and trade of asset in a secure and transparent manner. I personally were involved in many different kind of real asset. As of now, to be very honest, I'm not very much into that, because I personally believe that things that are digital, you should stay digital. Things that are more physical, I think our current world is already very effective. Just for example, real estate. So I have friends who want to tokenize real estate. Do you all think it's a good idea? Maybe. Don't think so. I think initially, if you are the company who is running a new project and you want to raise money, right? I think this is a very good concept. You talk to the bank will understand, this is a good concept. Yeah, it's good to take money. But actually, if you really want to tokenize this as make money, for the retail investor, it's really tough. You just put it this way, maybe in a ABC country, the real estate is really lousy. The locals are not buying it. By tokenizing it, you think people like myself, maybe a more crypto guy, yourself, will buy it. We are just friendly, but we are not silly. So all these things has a process, and there's always ways to really look at it deeper, whether it makes sense for you, makes sense for the wallet, or it makes sense for the company, right? So tokenization is a big word, but we definitely have come across things like this, but that's my own opinion. This clicker is not on blockchain. Okay, API, all right. These are interface that allow the external application to interact with different blockchain. The API enable the development of a decentralized application known as dApps, and the integration of the blockchain functionality into existing systems. API is not a stranger. It's not a stranger word at all. Then we look at mining. So mining is the process of validating transaction, adding them into different blockchain onto the blockchain. Involve solving complex mathematical puzzle to find a nonce that, when combined, the block data produce a hash that meets the network difficulty requirement. Right. So these are very commonly seen in the market, like a proof of work. And then maybe in your country, there's a lot of different mining farms. Those mining farms are actually doing that whole process. Of course, mainstream newspaper likes to talk about how mining wastes electricity, kill the environment, but so is internet, and so is AI. So just take a pinch of salt, but this is the whole process that we look at. And then most commonly known will be the POW, like I mentioned. They complete a certain puzzle. The first to do so adds the block to the blockchain, and then they are being rewarded with newly minted cryptocurrency and transaction fees. There are quite a number of POW cryptocurrencies around. Of course, the most popular one would still be Bitcoin. You will get to know that a lot of Bitcoins are being mined. It's only left with X number of Bitcoin, to be mined. And then, of course, some people ask, so, Andy, is the Bitcoin miner making money? Not really. Today the Bitcoin dropped a lot. Some of them may not be able to survive. To be very honest. So look at the diagram again. This is how it works from node 1 all the way to node 8. It's just an order they use to achieve the consensus in the network. All right. So it's very straightforward. No rocket science. So the consensus algorithm are protocol that ensure all the nodes agree on the state of the blockchain, and different blockchain platforms uses different kind of consensus mechanism. So first one is POS. Now Ethereum is on POS right now. Validators are chosen based on the number of coins they hold and are willing to stake. Is it a fair model? Anyone? Well, it's really hard to say, man. So I shall not comment on this. Proof of work, requires miners to perform computational work to validate transactions. So this is like you work hard, you get more, So this is the other one. Validated proof of stake. They vote for a small number of delegates who then validate the transaction and maintain the blockchain. It depends on the number of validators. Depends on which blockchain we are talking about. Again, I don't want to badmouth anybody or any blockchain, but this is also one of the more popular way of attaining a consensus mechanism. BFT. So PBFT is a nodes reach consensus through voting process, ensuring the system can tolerate a number of faults and bad codes. Types of blockchain. So blockchain network can be categorized into 3 different types. A public one, that we all know, things like Ethereum. There are private, there are hybrid ones, and each of them has a different unique features and different application. So public one is open to anyone and operates in a decentralized manner. Participants can read, write, validate transactions without requiring permission. Blockchain in the public are highly transparent, secure due to the extensive network of nodes. So the user base is big, so that's what they're trying to say. So example would be Bitcoin, Ethereum, applications will be cryptocurrency, decentralized application, smart contracts. Private blockchain, also known as a permission or trusted blockchain, is a decentralized digital ledger that only accessible to a select group of people. So I know of a few government ministries, they are using a private blockchain. It is a closed network that is designed to meet the needs of specific organization, to prioritize efficiency, and of course they want to manage it more effectively. So most of them will look at this. Example, it can be a hyperledger. I was, in fact, it's quite popular in Southeast Asia. Application, there will be some enterprise solution. More popular ones are like supply chain management and some internal business processes. We talk about like a HR function. We can consider a private blockchain. The hybrid one combines elements of both public and private, allows organization to control which data is public and which is private, providing a certain level of flexibility and scalability. They can leverage the security of a public blockchain while maintaining the privacy of the private ones. Okay, so there are like Dragon Chain, Synfin, complex business solutions that require both transparency and confidentiality. So a lot of different healthcare systems, they actually use something like this. It also combined with your traditional systems. So this is one of many ways that we could work on it. So case study would be IBM. Of course, they are also one of the very early adopters. They are prominent example of a large company that specialize in creating private blockchains for its client. In addition to private blockchain, IBM also develops permission blockchain, which offer a unique blend of public and private characteristics. Permission blockchain provide limited user capabilities and access, allowing entry only to those who verify their identity first. So this is an old case study. I always like to use this because this case study, I think it withstand the time that we have. Let's play this. Yeah, the video. You need to use the Canva one. You don't use the PPT. Yeah. Sorry?
Same link with the section one, the Canva link.
No, it's the same. I sent you 2 links. You just click on the second link from Canva. So I think this is a really interesting case study. Like I mentioned, it withstand time. It has proof that this is still a really relevant case study. Okay. I carry a lot of different PowerPoints around, so I use this kind of most friendly way to make PPT. Ooh. Okay, no, not this one. Yeah. The one at the bottom? Yeah, this, thanks. Go. Okay, thank you. Again, I'll share the link
demonstration of how
everybody.
IBM and Maersk are partnering to digitize and simplify global trade using blockchain to create trust and transparency in the supply chain. Global trade functions much as it has since the introduction of the shipping container in 1956. Manual paper-based processes are still common, and information about the status of goods is locked away in organizational silos. Today, 90% of goods in global trade are carried by the shipping industry, with the supply chain slowed by the complexity and sheer volume of point-to-point communication across a loosely coupled web of land transportation providers, freight forwarders, customs brokers, governments, ports, and ocean carriers. IBM and Maersk are addressing this problem with a distributed, permission platform accessible by the supply chain ecosystem designed to exchange event data and handle document workflows. Maersk and IBM are employing blockchain technology to create a global, tamper-proof system for digitizing trade workflow and tracking shipments end-to-end, eliminating frictions including costly point-to-point communications. The collaboration will launch with the potential ability to track millions of container journeys per year and integrate with customs authorities on selected trade lanes. In a recent test by Maersk, shipping a single container of flowers from Kenya to the port of Rotterdam resulted in a stack of nearly 200 communications. Using this example, we will examine how blockchain has been implemented to create trust and security in the digitized document workflow and improve the efficiency of global supply chains. Here we can see each distinct entity involved in the transaction: the growers, export authorities, ports, customs, and importers. Shipping from the port of Mombasa requires signatures from 3 different agencies approving the export and 6 documents that describe the origin, chemical treatment, quality of the produce, and customs duties. Firstly, using a PC or mobile device, the Kenyan farm submits a packing list that becomes visible to all participants. This action initiates a smart contract that enforces an export approval workflow between the 3 agencies. As each agency signs, the status is updated for all to see. Simultaneously, information about the inspection of the flowers, the sealing of the refrigerated container, the pickup by the trucker, and the approval from customs is communicated to the port of Mombasa, allowing them to prepare for the container. All actions relating to the documents and the physical goods are captured and shared: which documents were submitted, when and by whom, where the flowers are and who is in possession of them, and the next steps in their journey. Flowers are perishable, so it's crucial that there are no delays or missteps. Blockchain provides secure data exchange and a tamper-proof repository for these documents and shipping events. This system could significantly reduce delays and fraud, saving billions of dollars annually. And according to the WTO, reducing barriers within the international supply chain could increase worldwide GDP by almost 5% and total trade volume by 15%. For more information on how IBM can help make blockchain right for your business, please visit ibm.com/blockchain.
No need to find IBM. If you want anything, go for Dr. Ram. He can do it better. You know, the reason why I show this is a really interesting case study that started early, and right now at this current moment, there are still different Asian countries or Asian states or provinces that are trying to use this as a case study for adoption. So that's the reason why I share this. So next case study is about this blockchain called Quorum. You know, it's the first blockchain platform to adopt various consensus algorithm instead of using POW was Ethereum. So this is an extension of Ethereum and works as a permission blockchain. It supports smart contract with Crash and BFT consensus model. So there are several permission blockchain platforms. However, I personally believe that this one is one of those who are gaining a fair bit of popularity because of its Ethereum support and a lot of different general purposes. You know, different small business, you know, they could use them. Healthcare, they could use them. So blockchain versus other emerging technology. You know, the reason why I came up with this slide is I came to realize that a lot of different users or community members or friends, you know, they like to see a lot of emerging technology as something that's very siloed. You know, some of them, they will talk about IoT, you know, back in the good old days, and then after that they talk about AI. But I don't see them as something that we should look at it like individually, because every one of them can work a lot better together. You know, so this is my sharing. So AI machine learning has substantial growth. You know, in the past 2 years it has grown a lot. You know, thanks to Elon Musk. You know, thanks to ChatGPT and so forth. The natural language processing and computer vision, the predictive analytics, AI, ML application continue to expand. So I mentioned very early that I invested in an AI startup company. So the AI startup company in Singapore, which is called Neurai, you know, we are also doing very similar things as mentioned, but we are all focused in the finance sector, because we felt that the finance sector would have a very big use case, for AI and blockchain together. So integration with blockchain, some projects explore the combination of blockchain and AI, creating decentralized AI model, securing data, sharing for training purposes. So there's a lot of good case study, right now. Like I mentioned just now, integrating with blockchain, will act as a security layer or work as a check and balance. IoT, steadily increasing, less people talk about it because it's just part of your everyday life, smart cities, smart healthcare. These are all very, very familiar terms that we know. So the integration with blockchain, is to enhance, blockchain will use it to enhance security, transparency, and decentralized management of all these IoT devices and data, right? So again, it acts as a security layer. And of course, because a lot of these IoT devices, they help to create a certain level of automation. So that kind of automation, you also need a fair bit of blockchain in case, as a fallback. 5G, accelerating very fast, expected to support innovations in communication, IoT, and AR. The integration can also be the same, enhance the kind of security, enable efficient device authentication, and support decentralized apps. Edge computing definitely gaining traction, bring computation closer to the data source, reducing latency, improving real-time processing. Again, use it to secure the data, ensure integrity of the decentralized edge network. Quantum computing, practical applications are still early, but a lot of different people are talking about it. So some of my friends are also looking at quantum resistant cryptography, to ensure security of blockchain system in application of anticipation of advance in quantum computing. So again, this is one way where we look at things. AR, I think widely known in the healthcare, gaming sector, education. We can use blockchain to explore and enhance the security and ownership of digital assets to create decentralized virtual world. RPA, growing in popularity for automating routine, rule-based tasks in business processes. Again, the word is to secure and transparent audit trail, especially in scenario where trust and traceability are crucial. So there's a lot of different things that we talk about. Like just now, Tom was saying that, how do you want to implement your project? In the past, I have like a table for governments to fill it up. Which one would need to be trusted more, which is need to be a trusted source. Nowadays, I tend to really change it because at the end, integration of blockchain is a very personal thing, And I still think that if the project is not huge, and if you want to try, actually a lot of things can be on blockchain. It's just whether it's necessary or not necessary. But in order for governments to really try, just do it. Just do a small one, just to try it out. So that's how I look at it. Biotech integration would be, retrospectively trace the lineage, monitor the biochemical circuits. So all these things are all possible. So I like to always say this: the integration of blockchain with other emerging technologies is an ongoing process. It's an ongoing trend, fostering innovation and new possibilities across a different industry. So we should not look at it simply by saying that, it's a big tech implementation. Some of them, they were talking about using blockchain as a background, as a protocol for e-voting, for example. I think the logic is still the same. It's just that, okay, now your back end is computed using a blockchain. That's about it. So it's not rocket science, honestly. You need to think about how to integrate to your existing architecture and platform if you want to use it. So there's a small bracket there. Along the way you will meet a lot of different vendors. They will come and tell you that, oh, this thing needs to do, that thing needs to do. Yeah, I think most of this can be done if you want. If you want to try, if you think that there is something that is necessary to prove to your leaders that, okay, this is a good trial, let's do it. And if they see the benefit of it, then just integrate. I think things can be kept a lot simpler because now it's 2024. When I started this whole process of talking to different government, it's 2017. When I did the talk in 2017, back then, 2018, I was in Japan. A lot of these guys would think that, what is he talking about? But if you fast forward the same presentation that I did, back then, you realize that a lot of these things are actually in place. And a lot of these things that we mentioned seems to be airy-fairy, hard to achieve, but now it's being achieved. And as time as time passed by and so forth, you realize that whatever that we have mentioned, whether it's supply chain integration, or whether right now we are talking to really big brands who are using NFTs, for example. They're all very happy to integrate them, use it as a customer reward process for the customer. But if you look at the crypto market right now, like we talk about NFT just now, right? NFT is dying. In our world, it's dying. The price is down. All this profile picture JPEG is gone. It's a good thing. Because the Nikes and the Starbucks and so forth, they are using it. I personally know of other bigger brands who are using NFTs right now. But it's not us anymore. But this is a good progress for everybody, because big brands sees the technology, they want to use it. In the past we only use it for speculation, right? I mean, sorry, really is the truth, So that is a kind of good future for everybody, And in the very beginning I mentioned, blockchain is just technology. You just look at it maybe from a database standpoint, but a lot of different governments are trying very hard to de-link cryptocurrency and blockchain in some ways, because they only want to use it on an application level. But I still feel that if they are more open, they can actually do a lot more than what it is right now for them. That's the end of my quick session. Again, I think I have some time. Yeah, I have some time. How many? 25. Okay. I think, I have been in a different APO sessions, and I gave the feedback. I was in Japan, 2 weeks ago. I was telling them, it's always good to have a session where the participant can ask questions. If not, then it will be a very one-way presentation. Oh, I say is this, he says is that. And to be very honest, some of these sessions are really big. Everyone is very shy. Like if you're in Singapore, for example, wow man, all my friends, they are all so quiet. They look at each other, smile, no one asks any question. Because they felt that it could be silly. Or maybe they felt that the question is not good enough. But because the session here is very private, it's just among all of us. If you have any question, ask, and also take this session not just getting a reply from me, but also getting a reply from your peers as well. So shall we do a bit of questions? I'll give you a mic. We have two.
I need one.
I'll give you one. Go one. I'll give you the go one.
I think it's number.
Hey man. Go one looks nicer. No.
Well, first of all, thank you for such a nice presentation. Actually, I've seen two different things in this presentation. Number one was consensus, and number two was mining. So, what is the major difference between consensus and mining? This was first question. And second question is, as you know that there's a attack in the blockchain that is known as 51% attack. So, as you know that nowadays the AI is at its peak, how is it possible to prevent from such attacks even if we have AI? So we can use AI and maybe the blockchain, the blocks can be break using the AI. So what do you think on it?
Sure. Let me go back to the slides on. Let me go back to the very early slides about consensus mechanism. Oh, just now when I didn't want to click, it was so fast. Okay. So this is the protocol that ensures all the different nodes agree in the state of blockchain, right? But when mining is actually the actual action to do it, so it's very different, So this is the consensus. It's like a method to do it. When you agree, mining is the actual mine. Just take it literally as mining, to get the computation that you want. So that's different. You talk about 51 attacks and then AI and so forth. That is a very subjective question, because if you look at it from a blockchain perspective, sometimes actually we often say that it's very bad for a certain project, with big whales, they hold a certain voting power or hold a certain amount of cryptocurrency. The three of them can make up, the consensus, for example, and that could possibly lead to different kinds of attacks and so forth. But to be very honest, in today's world, people still want a certain level of control. So with a level of control, you understand that these 10 people is going to hold most of the power, and all of them are not doing anything. There will not be any form of external attack. Then the 51% will not going to happen. So whether it's AI or not AI, to be very honest, if you look at it from a structural standpoint, I think AI can use to validate the codes, run different computation method, or maybe even look at how it can predict what's going to happen and so forth. I think it's a good prediction tool, but I don't think it's going to be the tool to stop everything. To be very honest, there's 2 cents worth from my point of view. Yeah. Dr. Ram, you want to have something to say?
The consensus maybe.
Maybe we can add on a bit more.
Yeah.
Thanks.
On the mining. Okay, so is it working? Yeah, it's working. Okay, it's on and off. Hello, I'll take it. Okay, so when I did the learning, about blockchain, so I was wondering, what is this mining thing? So I was really researching a lot on how this mining thing works. Okay, and why is this very expensive? I keep seeing in the news, and you also mentioned, I think the explanation that he gave was very, very prompt, to the point. There was a slide on non-say. Can you go to this? Can you go, I don't know whether it's behind or ahead. Here it is, back one, yeah. Yeah, the mining one, yeah. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so I was asking questions after questions, because I'm more of a neat procurement guy. I don't know blockchain. I was learning piece by piece by piece. So everything I have to question and learn, okay? So this non-say is something, which came up. And I was wondering what a non-say is. It's nothing but a seed. You're a PhD in computer science, so it's just a seed value. So what they normally do is that whenever there is a block, they take the data in the block and hash the data, the previous block, whatever has been agreed. And then when a new block is created, the hash of the previous block is taken as an input into this block. and then they add this non-say, okay, and then generate a hash. And if I am correct, the Bitcoin case, they have the resulting hash value. I think they have said first 7 characters, or I don't know exact number now, should be 0. So I think that's the computation. So you got to change the non-say. You can't change the other values, okay? But you got to change the non-say again and again and again and again, and then until you get a hash value which is matching. I think that's the English used there. Network's difficulty requirement. I think that says the first 7, or X number of characters. I think that was less, and now it just keeps going. So the difficulty of getting a hash complying with the requirement. So that's the process. So that the person who cracks it first gets to be the winner of the block. He can report the block, and that's what gets the winner. So and so. Okay, he gets the whatever Bitcoin and whatever transactional charges, etc. Okay, so in terms of consensus algorithm, I'm not that sure. Andy can probably give in much more details on this. My understanding is if I say I won the block, I got this particular hash, and then it turned out to be like I got it, and then I'm reporting it, and then every member of the nodes have to agree that yes, it is in fact Ram who won this block. Okay, everybody agrees, and then they say, okay, let's go on to the next block. Okay, I think that's probably what is the consensus mechanism. That I'm not very sure, but this one, I'm dead sure on this one.
That's a good explanation. So most of the time, whenever I have sessions, I try not to be too technical, to be honest. But what Dr. Ram mentioned is 100% correct, and to be also very honest, I think is a good knowledge to have. But again, if your leader back in the government was going to ask you this, then I think it's very hard to get this approved, to be honest. Because sometimes, since the start of this morning, I still think that keeping things simple, right, is still the best way to convince your boss or your department to do the things that you want, Any other questions? You can ask anything, don't worry, Sure. I like interaction, so let's talk a bit,
Thank you, Andy, for a very nice presentations. Actually, I want to ask a question in the earlier session in the morning, but I have no
Sure, no problem.
My question regarding to the risk of the blockchain technology. I have seen, I saw your presentation earlier about the benefits of the blockchain technologies, but I want to focus on the risk. And my question is, what are the potential risks associated with the implementing blockchain in government systems, and how can this risk be mitigated to ensure secure and efficient public service delivery?
Dr. Ram, you want to take the question about? No, okay. No, because I think from a public sector, to be very honest, I think the first thing to really convince your stakeholder is you have to differentiate the difference between blockchain and cryptocurrency. As of today, if you look at maybe the US, in the last 2 weeks about Bitcoin conference and so forth, a lot of these leaders, they do not really understand what they're talking about. If they do not understand what they are talking about, and if they mix the two terms up, I think it's going to be really bad. So number one, I think the definition got to be very clear to them. What exactly blockchain is, and what exactly cryptocurrency do, and what exactly you want to attain from the blockchain technology, and what are some of the problems that you want to solve. That's number one. Number two, as mentioned, whenever you want to implement a public project or a more public, how should I say, like a more public use case, I think first of all you have to also determine, like I mentioned, what is the gap that you are trying to solve. Then after you ask yourself, what kind of data are you really looking at, and what kind of problem you are trying to solve? Same thing. Then you ask yourself, is it going to be a private blockchain, or is it going to be a public blockchain? What do you want to use it for? So again, coming back to another country, they have a lot of data, and they mentioned that, oh, I need to put all of them on blockchain. Should it be private or public? Well, I mean, how am I going to answer this? Because this is a very big question. But after knowing them a fair bit more during the session, I realized that some of these data, they also need to validate. Some of these data are also not updated. This is like more like an identity kind of project. So I told them, why not, you launch something on the blockchain to validate some of this data. The collection point can be on-chain, right? The collection point can be on-chain. You validate that you're from this school. You validate that this is where you work. I think that part you can use blockchain to do it. A fair bit of automation and so forth. And how this link back to your existing data, you can actually use an AI process to filter them out and so forth. If you want that case study, I can send it to you as well after I get the permission from the country. But it becomes something that is more palatable. You realize that, oh, actually this can be done in this manner. My blockchain collection, my collection of data is with all the different schools. After collecting from the schools, all these criteria are met, are validated, all these things are on-chain. Because this is the most current data, they use that current data to match against what they have previously. And from there, they detect what is good and what is bad. So I think from a public standpoint, you need to have small implementation. What kind of further risks are there? I think it's more towards the privacy risk, security risk. If you are going to do anything that is on blockchain, things that are not supposed to be public, please, keep it to yourself, right? Yeah, don't share things out and then, there's no way. Once you share it out, you can always find ways to retrieve it back. But of course, that will become a public information, So I think you need to find a certain good gap and a case study. For example, in Singapore, our Prime Minister health records are being hacked, right? So if this thing is actually on blockchain, maybe the chances of being hacked is a lot lesser, So there's a level of need, or maybe a security level of need that needs to be implemented onto the healthcare system, so the hacking can be a lot reduced, So I think risks like this, in terms of the sets of data, are what I have in mind, Hey man. Okay. The golden might not work, yeah? As you know. Yeah.
One of the questions I had is there's the basic blockchain networks like Bitcoin and Ethereum or whatever, and there's now suddenly so many platforms built on top of it, right? There's Uniswap and Polygon and Cosmos and all these fancy names. Is there a taxonomy of what are they trying to achieve, and to put all of that into a high level context? Because there's so many frameworks. You look at the documentation, it all seems very ooey, and there's no clarity on what the key areas that they're trying to solve.
I see. Some of them are my friends, So,
no offense.
But no offense, it's just for facts purposes. To be very honest, a lot of this blockchain, the only purpose that they serve is to make money. I want to be very honest about it. If you compare this from a more technical background, some of them say that, oh, I can have this number of transactions, per second. Some are huge, some broke the world record, I don't want to mention any of this because some of them I am an early investor, But I told them straightforward in the board meeting, I say, hey dude, this one is just internal testing, right? You could say whatever you want, but it doesn't really matter. Because when you come up with real transaction, there'll be real problems. There'll be a lot of maybe latency error, so forth and so on. Then let's boast about it when that time comes, right? But no, because all of them, they are doing this because they want to show their investor that they have achieved something, right? So if you look at it from a money standpoint, whatever you see right now is all okay. But then you ask me what are the differences in them. Actually, most of them function very similar.
So
very similar.
So my question is not just about the blockchain networks, the alternative blockchain networks that exist, but there's a lot of frameworks on top of them that, like, I think Uniswap is trying to give like some developer friendly, but like they develop protocols on top of the blockchains themselves. There's something layer 2, layer 3. Like what can you like put all of that into context as far as the architecture is concerned?
I think, you know, because if you talk about Uniswap or maybe Ethereum as a whole, there's a lot of there's also a lot of problems with it. You know, it's not fast enough. You know, that's the reason why they come up with the different layer 2, right? And then you mentioned about Uniswap that functions on Ethereum. What they are trying to do is to build their own ecosystem. You know, they are trying to hold X amount of transaction very dear to them. You know, user stickiness to their own platform, so that they can also build something bigger than just building on Ethereum. To be very honest, you know, when I spoke to some of the developers, you know, they would tell me that, hey, you know, I am developing another swap mechanism where we can go multi-chain. You can, but predominantly is all on Uniswap. You know, some of them, of course, they are on PancakeSwap, for example. They are trying their best to reduce the transaction cost. They are also trying their very best to create their own community, because with the community, they can do a lot more. They could come up with a totally different layer 1 in the future. You know, so in that line of business, you know, it's all about creating more users. The more users that you have, the more you could do with your current resources. And especially in the so-called bull market right now, more people are actively pumping time, money, you know, into all these different blockchain to build the ecosystem. Because by building the ecosystem, you know, it's a lot easier for them to jump out from it, you know, create new things, create new swaps, create a new NFT platform, create a new AR, or maybe a gaming platform. So I think they're all trying to build a story on top of what it is right now. Those that are on Ethereum, most of them are building on the story of scalability, transaction speed, lower price, you know. Then some of them who are building on Solana right now, to be honest, a lot of them are trying to build utility, like a taxi app, you know, running app, you know, or meme coins. So all of them, if you look at it from a more not money perspective, they're trying to build people, you know. And with the people, more people holding on to the coin, you know, then everything can be a lot more fair, you know, the attacks will not be there. So that's what they are trying to achieve, you know, from a nutshell. Sure. Sorry, golden mic, please.
Yeah, my question is somehow related again to the previous question.
Sure.
I was about to ask the same thing. So I just want to wrap my head around the capability of blockchain in terms of interoperability. So you mentioned earlier that blockchain facilitates interoperability, for instance, data sharing, secure data sharing via API. So my question is, yeah, there's a lot of blockchain platforms out there, and you've mentioned that if you want to get started, we can start small, just like build a simple proof of concept or small scale project, say validating credentials within our agency. So now stepping back, if we're thinking of interoperability across government agencies and public sectors, and even in industries, so what can you recommend in terms of selecting the right blockchain platform? Because you've mentioned a lot, like we're talking to a lot of people from Solana community, Arbitrum. So we also have Hyperledger people that promoting Hyperledger Fabric. Also, there's this Venom. I don't know if you have heard of.
I know that.
Yeah, Venom. They want
Based in
to.
Dubai.
Yeah. I think one of the agencies in the government wants to implement this as well, and you know the tech industries in the Philippines in terms of the blockchain space and Web3. They're commenting that I don't know if there's some people here who know Venom, but they don't want to use that, and you want to use EVM based just to make this interoperable. So, us in the public sector, we don't know where to start. Like for us, we're trying to use Hyperledger, but they say that it's really hard, or not really hard, but there's a challenge in terms of making this interoperable if you're using other blockchain platforms. So just want to wrap my head around this concerns.
So first of all, it depends on whether you want to stick it to a public blockchain or a private one, right? So is it a public or private one?
Yeah, most of the government services, though it's publicly available, but we want to make it permission somehow.
Okay.
So like validating credentials, the nodes are known. Those who will control or operate those nodes are known. So that's why we're trying to implement like a permission type of blockchain.
Sure. So I think it will be either private or maybe a hybrid ones, right? And then if you want it to be more private, and you want a certain level of service, maybe you can really speak to Hyperledger, to see what they can provide, because they come from an enterprise solution. They're more professional, right? If you talk about the so and so blockchain, don't mention names, whoever else. Today they might be here, tomorrow they might be gone, right? And then some of them do not even have proper documentation or different SDK. So you got to be very, very careful on what you're trying to choose. Whether it's not about whether it's EVM or not EVM. You have to choose who are the backers, real backers that are backing up. If you are trying to use an EVM chain, for example, you could look at things like a BNB chain that is actually backed by Binance. They are the world largest, right? Or if you want an EVM, you could also look at Mentor. They are backed by Bybit, which is the second largest in the world. Go with the bigger brands so that you can get better support. Don't go with those blockchain that only you know and your neighbor know, and then everyone else they don't know. Try to avoid those. Or go for the bigger enterprise solution where they could help you to build something, just for you, customized. And if you want to build a private blockchain, there are also a lot of different vendors that is available. A lot of them are from Europe, some from India, and the price is also relatively attractive. If you can build a long-term relationship with them, by all means, try it out. If not, I would personally go with the big brands, because if anything goes wrong, the big brands are there to back you up. And always look at the amount of documentation that they can provide you with, and the kind of level of support you need. Because government services are sometimes very troublesome. So if you call them, they don't pick up, or you have some really bad attacks, they can't solve it in time, then you defeat the purpose. So I still think that the kind of delivery that they can provide is very, very important.
Sir, okay. Just to follow, I have a follow-up question on that. How
Sure.
about if there are siloed implementation already, so we don't have control what platform they use, but there's an initiative to integrate all the systems using different blockchain platforms. So how complex is it for to implement that kind of setup configuration?
It's actually quite difficult, to be honest. So of course from an AP, so some of them they'll say, oh, we create a common API so that everyone can interact, but it's not so friendly, and especially we talk about the different kind of blockchain that is there, and especially when we talk about the different kind of standards that they have, it's very difficult. Trust me. Yeah. So if you want simple, maybe from a ministry level or country level, go with an EVM. And then if it's not EVM, then you have to find a different third-party vendor to see how they can be the integrator for you. But it's always with all the popular chain. But integration, because there's a breach that they are building, there might be problems in terms of hacking, or some breaching in terms of security. So we really got to be very careful about this. Yeah, because we have seen a lot of breaches, and it's really, really bad, Okay, I think my time is up. Anything, ping me. I'm also very searchable online. Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, anything. Just ping me. But of course I'm still around. Chat soon. Bye.